Hey, welcome to the iGuide Casino Show. I'm Stephanie Holland, and with me, of course, is
Vanessa Franco.
Well, we have got some interesting events to talk about this week.
Definitely interesting. That's one word for them.
So starting with the 25th, that's a Thursday night, of course, at San Manuel. It's the Kings of the Cage. They're back with more mixed martial arts.
And the cage.
And the show is actually called The Gun Show.
The Gun Show.
Which means you can literally get tickets to
the gun show. Like, that is like the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever.
I'm just wondering, were they sitting around the office thinking, well, we've got to come up with another name for the show?
Because, like, King of the Cage shows up there, like, every other week.
Yeah. King of the Cage comes to San Manuel, like, every other month. They're there a lot. But, you know, they do good business, and people like it.
People really love it. And, you know, this is, like, one of the birthplaces of MMA.
Right. So
people love it. People love tickets. They want tickets to the gun show.
You want some mixed martial arts, up close, intimate venue, head out to San Manuel Thursday night.
There you go.
And then the next night, out at Cabazon at Morongo, the Isley Brothers.
They're legends.
I love the Isley Brothers. I've seen them in concert a couple times. What's great about them is, number one, there's no person on the planet cooler than Ron Isley.
Really?
He comes out full, like, three-piece suit, overcoat, hat, cane. Like,
well, I hope it cools down because, I mean, it's been really hot.
No, he's
going to, like, die of heat exhaustion.
In the full outfit. They do all the hits that you want to hear. They generally close with Shout. That's usually, you know, the big closer.
Where do they put Twist and Shout?
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But they sing, you know, Who's That Lady, Between the Sheets. Here's the thing about the Isley Brothers. They are personally responsible for a lot of children in the world.
A lot of children.
A lot of babies have been born just because of the Isley Brothers.
And a lot of twisting and shouting has been done just
I'm
because
just
of the
saying,
Isley
if you
Brothers.
did a check back 9 months after this show, there might be a little baby boom in there.
I feel like I can make a chart of that, some data.
A Google map, maybe.
A Google map. Children who were born after their parents went to the show.
But it's always a good show if you like classic R&B and just a really good time.
I like to dance.
And there's lots of dancing, too.
They have twisting and shouting.
And
then they get softer, and then they get louder. I love the dynamics of it all.
So at the other end of the spectrum,
the
next night, the 27th, Saturday, over at Pechanga, is the Chinese People's Disabled Performing Arts Troupe. And what this is they do all kinds of different dancing and music and ballet and jazz troupes, and what you're seeing a picture of is it's a number, I believe it's called the Butterfly Lovers Dance. And it's really spectacular. I watched a couple videos of their performances. Really, really beautiful performances. And what makes it even more inspiring is that most of the members of the troupe, they're either blind or hearing impaired.
Wow. Wow, that sounds like a really, and I believe the show's called, like, My Dream, so it sounds like a very inspiring show. Like, you know, in these tough economic times, sometimes you need to pick me up. Maybe that's the route to go.
Right, just a really beautiful, artistic, inspiring show to see. And, you know, like you say, a pick-me-up when you see what they're doing on stage and you realize this is how they're using their disability. That's really spectacular.
I want to know how hearing-impaired people do ballet. I'm intrigued.
Apparently they can feel the music, or there's a way they can feel the vibrations of the music, and it's their interpretation.
I love that. I'd love to see it. I think that sounds like a winner.
So, same night out in the desert at Fantasy Springs is an up-and-coming artist, Prince Royce. He plays what is called bachata music. And I had to look it up because I wasn't familiar with what it was.
Can you explain it?
It's a style of Latin music that came from the Dominican Republic in the early 20th century. It's fused with Caribbean rhythms.
I like the Caribbean.
So it's sort of a mix between a Latin cha-cha and sort of a little reggae in it. And his big hit is he did a cover of Stand By Me, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Benny King, R.I.P. Benny King.
He did a cover of that, and that was sort of his first big hit. And
with the cha-cha rhythm?
It's sort of.
I gotta check this out. I haven't heard of it.
And I guess because the music has become popular in recent years, the dancing that goes along with it has also.
Is that like the cha-cha slide?
No, I think they're different.
Okay. Is it like salsa, like Victor Cruz?
I think it's completely different.
I don't
from
know
the
anything.
Cha-cha slide. But
I hate the cha-cha
at any
slide.
rate, he's playing out at Fantasy Springs. He's actually a very sort of an up-and-coming artist, so it'd be interesting to see.
Well, this might be your last chance to see him in a place where he's like, headline Staples Center.
Right. I guess earlier in the summer, he played Jay-Z's big Made in America festival that he had out in Philadelphia. So that probably was his biggest gig to date. But he's playing out at Fantasy Springs, so if you like that solid music and
I mean, it sounds way better when I originally saw it, because you know how they always have they have cover bands at Fantasy Springs, so I thought it was a Prince / Royce cover band, and I was like, oh well, that's kind of interesting.
No,
Royce, Car Wash, not getting enough cred these days.
And just as an aside, when I saw the picture of him, I thought he looked like Bruno Mars for a second. I thought Bruno Mars was coming to Fantasy Springs.
Bruno Mars played Spotlight 29, though.
But, so those are your choices. I think if for me, I'm going to lean toward the Isley Brothers.
I think I'm going to. Can we twist and shout together?
Yeah, of course. Right, so we're constantly updating the blog with new information. It's pe.com/iGuide/casinos. And then, of course, you can follow me on Twitter at iGuide_casinos. So I guess we'll see you next week.